So, hey everybody, welcome to the April Black Blockchain Consultants monthly meeting. I'm Cherie. I am the leader of Black Blockchain Consultants. Our whole goal is to figure out how we could participate in this $3.1 trillion industry that's forthcoming. So if you're new to BBC, we want to welcome you. We do this once a month where we get together, we talk about different news articles, things that are happening within the blockchain space. And it's a way for us to connect. It's a way for us to learn, and that way you can take the information with you and prosper. So within BBC, we focus on four key things. Number one, if you want to get a blockchain job, then we introduce you to different blockchain jobs that are available. Number two, blockchain-based businesses, we talk about that. How do you set them up from the blockchain side as well as the business side? Number three is investing in blockchain projects, whether you want to invest time or money in a project. We focus on how do you make a good decision of what projects you want to invest in. And then number four, you all know I'm big on generational wealth. So we want to figure out, even if you're fee for service, how do you take that money and put it into something that will spit off cash for you so you are not, the old adage was, standing in Walmart giving away those stickers, those smiley stickers, if you all are older like I am, but you're not even getting that these days. These days, you're not even going to be able to get a cashier job with the way things are going. So we want to make sure that our people are set and straight. So one more announcement. Don't forget the virtual conference is coming up on June 12th. If you are in Flock, if you're part of the inner circle, we have already begun putting the links in for you to get your tickets. If you are not on the inner circle, we're going to start promoting that on our Facebook page and all over our social media and in our email list this week so that you can begin to see who's coming to the conference, who's confirmed, the agenda that we're going to have, which we're really excited about, etc. And again, that's going to be on June 12th that is airing. So Dr. Keisha, welcome.
Hello, welcome, and everybody welcome.
Yeah, you want to introduce yourself for a couple of seconds here?
Sure. I'm Dr. Keisha, Executive Director of the Center for Blockchain Studies, and we are the education arm of the BBC. Definitely check us out. We are at blockchainstudies.tech, where we have Blockchain 101 courses, the courses also that range from Blockchain 101 all the way to more specific industry type instruction, like blockchain and healthcare, and how to build a business in this blockchain space. Businesses that range from the 6-figure to the 8-figure. So, find out from us how to make that happen. This is the space to do so. BBC. Welcome.
Absolutely. And we have a new person tonight, Mr. Corey Henry. So Kendra Amariam introduced me to Corey and a whole bunch of people when I went to Atlanta last week. And Corey is a blockchain powerhouse. So excited that he's here tonight. Corey, why don't you, and we're going to give you the floor for like 5 minutes because I really do want people to understand who you are, what you're doing, and the ways that you're pulling your teams together and things like that. So
okay, well, first of all, nice to meet you and whoever else is there. I'm switching rooms going into my office here, so pardon me. My name's Corey Henry. I primarily work on the nonprofit space. The name of my nonprofit is STEAM Revolution. So we take science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics, and we work with opportunity zone communities, and we work with HUD to create, to look at the new legislation that's been out. I mean, we're almost in an entire different country, all right, as far as the changes that have happened from a legislative point of view concerning access to capital for small businesses, and just there's a new way we do taxes. There's a new way we gain access to money, and then there's a new money, and i.e. Blockchain and how we're literally creating currencies based around businesses that we know have longevity, that have a great idea. So I primarily focus on preparing communities for Opportunity Zones Act. Opportunity Zones is the great majority of our community. And, you know, if we don't master that space, we'll miss it for another 100 years. We will miss 100-year type legislation that has the ability to totally recreate our communities and let us relax a little bit about gentrification and look at how do we do reestablishment and establish new communities and new spaces that never existed before, with new economies and new industries and new access to capital and new ideas. So that's me. I like to do the ground and pound. I get out and I work in the community with the kids because they are the future. They are digital natives. And the more that we can do to convince them that they actually need us, the more that, you know, we're going to have an involvement in the future economy. So we focus on content. We focus on content creation. We focus on, we're in Atlanta, so this is Black Hollywood. And then in the real estate space, how do we put our real estate ventures in front of this blockchain machine in order to maximize our ability to compete with the big boys as far as bringing cash to the table when it comes time to do that? You know, that 80% money is out there everywhere if you can bring that 20%, you know? And then how do we, you know, draw a lot of our best ideas and put them in a situation where that 20% is possible, and we can leverage that to build from there. So happy to be here, happy to contribute, happy to see you guys, such experience and such infrastructure already built. It's going to be critical because this is a brand new discussion in most of our community. So you're very much in the circle, inside of the circle, inside of the circle when it comes to knowledge about this space and what it truly means for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. So Corey, I've been telling you that I want to connect you with Eric Spence. So Eric, I don't know if you're listening right now. I know you're multitasking, but Corey is very much into tokenization, and he focuses more so on real estate. And we've been talking about tokenization of businesses and things like that. But when we had our luncheon and a couple of follow-up calls that Corey and I had, we did talk about tokenization. So I definitely want to connect the two of you because he's very much into that. So, and then for all of my other people here tonight or listening to the replay that are into tokenization, we've had a couple of really good calls with people offline that we want to eventually bring to the group who, you know, some very powerful Black people who are thinking about tokenization. And I keep repeating this as a concept. I'm waiting for somebody to take the ball with it, but I keep saying, you know, if we can get 10,000 people together and everybody puts $100 in a pot, that's $1 million. That's like enough to fund a business or to fund, you know, a real estate project in some of these communities, in a lot of our community, et cetera. And then you're able to go to the bank and leverage that a lot like the Tulsa real estate guy, Jay Morrison. You know, you're able to take that $1 million or $2 million or however much money and go to the bank and leverage that as well, or go to the other opportunity zone funds and say, hey, we have our 20%, you know, now we need your 80, and they take you seriously. So again, waiting on somebody to take that ball and run with it. But yeah, so Eric is saying, Eric Spence is saying to you, Corey, excellent, love what you're doing, Corey, and he can't wait to connect. So definitely want to make sure to get the two of you together.
Yeah. So let me say one other thing before we move on about what happened with the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. I don't know how much people know about the Jobs Act, the Jumpstart Our Business Startups Act. That's what made it possible for this crowdsourcing that we're just now really starting to get in on. You know, crowdsourcing, before it was tokenization, crowdsourcing was, you know, that's kind of what Jay Morris and them did. They basically ran a Schedule A or Schedule A plus, either a Reg D or a Reg
CF or Reg D, yeah.
You know, so the line is that's a language that most of us did not speak, and definitely before 2013. And most people still do not speak it. And now when we add blockchain to it, you just put steroids on it. And to think that you can take that, the Jobs Act, the Opportunity Zones Act was a part of the Tax Cuts Jobs Act. All right. So without Jobs Act, there is no opportunity zones. And we have to understand the prerequisite for the Opportunity Zones Act. It's getting small businesses dressed for the party so that they can participate. So systemize, tokenize, and then monetize.
Ooh, I like that. Somebody's gonna have to write that down and copyright it or something, trademark it. So one thing that we're doing as a community is joining the Crowdfunding Professional Association, and we have several people that are going to be either working on the education piece, so learning about these different regulations and how we can not only learn them for ourselves internally within BBC, but then educate our people on them and use it in order to gain a greater economic base. And Dr. Keisha is very much inspired by that and probably going to be one of the forefront leaders of that. And then the other piece of it is advocacy, which Eric Spence is really into. So he wants to be in front of the SEC and the IRS and on Capitol Hill actually lobbying for the laws that's needed to not only protect the big boys, but to also protect us. And, you know, of course, there are more committees as well. So we have about 16 people that are going to be a part of that group as well in terms of learning this information so that we can apply it to crowdfunding and apply it to tokenization. So we're really excited about that. And I will say that, you know, crowdfunding is nothing new. I always compare it to the building fund. I don't know if any of you grew up in the Baptist church like my family did, but, you know, the pastor would say, hey, you know, we need $10,000 for this roof. We're doing an extra offering. I mean, it's the same thing. It's just that the laws have changed in order to open it up for online and for a lot more publicity. But it is the same thing. We in our community, that's how we've gotten things done, is through crowdfunding. And, you know, now we want to take the legal methods of doing it in order to be able to raise tens of millions or hundreds of millions of dollars. So,
yeah. And we count the role that entertainment plays in crowdfunding. I think rappers and R&B and just musicians are the purest form of crowdsourcing you've ever seen. You know, just by being able to go in and in 3 hours, they can generate, you know, $80,000, $90,000 of just pure cash for them, you know, and it hasn't been properly put to work. But to think that we can do that at a smaller scale for a larger amount of people, you know, $10 across 1 million people.
Yeah.
The beginning of a bank, you know, and
new economy.
I mean, the Freedmen's Bank, it didn't have any more than $10 million in assets in it. And it was such a huge part of our economy. And when it crashed, all of Black folk lost confidence in the banks, you know? So, you know, that's to the negative side of it. To the positive of it, you know, I think we definitely have to you know, leading the space where we kind of replace banks and replace all this damn redlining and all the effects of all that stuff. And, you know, and make our own process, our own system for monetizing ideas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dr. Keisha.
I was just going to say, we're this new technology is allowing us to bring back our cooperative economics, you know, in the 21st century kind of space. Because like you said, this is what we do. We're communal people. You know, like you said, kind of on the negative side to the point of crowdfunding, you know, we know how to have to crowdfund for funerals, you know, to pay for funerals and whatnot. So, you know, it's not that we don't have it. It's just that we have to get these systems put together, and it's a divine time for just such a thing as that, you know. I know here in the Detroit area, that's where I am, Black businesses, women in business is huge. You know, we are from what I understand, the statistics are huge for us nationwide, just here in the Michigan area, in the Detroit area in particular. So anyway, it's just a beautiful thing that the laws are starting to support small businesses, and then also being able to support our whole idea of cooperative economics. And we really were able to, we started to get a lot more people who are woke and knowledgeable of these kind of things. And this whole platform of the technology being able to reach like-minded individuals like ourselves, it's powerful. It's powerful. So yep, I'm excited about the education piece, because there's no excuse now. We can each one reach one and each one teach one.
Absolutely. And I also think that it's a matter of getting the ball rolling. So people have seen not only the success of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, but there are a lot of these funds that are going out and buying the block. So I'm connected through YouTube with a group of people who are buying blocks in Baltimore or Detroit or Cleveland, and you can decide, hey, I want to put $500 over in this city, and I want to put, you know, all of them have their minimum. Some of them are 2,500, or, you know, or I think the highest one is 2,500, but there are others you could put $500 or $1,000 in. And, you know, and you could be a part of this group that's buying a block or buying several houses in Detroit, or, you know, like, let's say Cleveland, Baltimore, Houston, you know, et cetera. So there were people that, and I'll admit I was one of them for my own reasons, who didn't necessarily want to do the Tulsa Real Estate Fund. And then others were saying, well, you know, there's nothing out there for us. Well, that's not true. You know, and we're starting to see this, and we're starting to see our people buy the block back. And then I heard about, I didn't listen to the rap, but I heard about Jay-Z's gentrification rap, and, you know, people being inspired by that. And then you've got the naysayers over here saying it's impossible. And, you know, I believe that it is possible. I've seen, you know, what we can do as a collective community. So,
any collective community.
And I was going to say too, in terms of it really connecting on, I'm involved in the National Business League here in Detroit that is restructuring itself, you know, nationwide. And that's something that was set up back in 1900 by Booker T. Washington. So we're mobilizing and redoing the whole league so that it's more 21st century, it's more accessible to everybody, and it's international. So it's definitely picking up. Start going, to be sure.
I think it is for us to establish the process. How does a business go from idea to, you know, to organize, to fund it, right, to capitalize. And then once we have the process, then we'll start working on the networks, if you will. So NAACP is a network. SCLC is a network. Kappa Alpha Psi, AKA, you know, all those are networks. The Kojic churches are networks. Church of God in Christ, or the AME church, those are networks. And if we can teach them how to monetize, not monetize, to tokenize, right? Just their network, right? You know, where you've got 1 or 2 million here, 1 or 2 million there, it's powerful. And they just flat out do not understand. I sat with Dr. Charles Steele, who's president of SCLC, and I was telling him about HUD Section 3, which was a legislation that was written out of the doctrine of the Poor People's Campaign. Do you hear me? Right? A federal legislation that was written out of the doctrine of the Poor People's Campaign, and they did not even know about it. 50 years later.
Yeah, and you do a lot of work in terms of understanding HUD and a lot of the opportunities that are there. Yeah. So
it's key for us to take all of that synergy and into a unified effort, because these are things that no matter what community you're in, they're the exact same. Whether I'm in Detroit, Atlanta, Baltimore, LA, Houston, wherever, or the surrounding rural cities and counties, we have the exact same problem from neighborhood to neighborhood and the same legislation to fix the problem. So we just got to define the system, systemize, which is what Dr. Waddell is going to be helping with all of this education.
Yeah.
Systemize before we can tokenize and monetize.
So two things that I heard. Number one was one of the things that other groups have, and I'm just going to say white people for now. I'm sure that the Asians have it. I don't know about the Hispanics so much, is the ability to create think tanks. So when Corey's talking about all of the legislation, all of the information out there, it really is about think tanks. And all think tanks are is a simple way of doing research, figuring out what's out there, and then once you know what's out there, being able to use that information for your best benefit. So I think a part of it is how do we put together these think tanks of people that, you know, YouTube, Google is an amazing thing. You can find a lot of information for free. And then what's not there, you can go to networking events, start talking to people saying, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, or I'm doing research on that. And you'll be surprised who gives you what information. And then, of course, I think Tawana's on here talking about, you know, she'll talk about the rabbit holes that you start going into when you are doing research. But I think think tanks are very important. The other thing I think is something that we need to look at is Harvard and Yale and all of these colleges have something called endowments. And yes, I know the slavery slant to it. That's how they got a lot of their base money. However, what they have done successfully and what I would be curious about is they're at a point right now where they don't need tuition in order to keep the school afloat. Like they have so much money that they are able to have their schools, like pay their teachers and all their operating expenses for years and years and years on the interest that they're making on their investments. Wow. They also, my understanding is a couple of the schools had so much money several years ago that the US government made them sell some of their assets because they had more money than the US government, or they were going to have more money than the US government. Yes. Wow. So I think there's something to be learned there about compound interest and about how do you set up your investments. And I know this may not sound like it has anything to do with blockchain, but it all interconnects with intergenerational wealth and tokenization and things like that. How do you set up your investments where you get compound interest? Or somebody else that I was listening to, I was on a phone call with him. He said, you don't eat the seed. You don't eat whatever you originally plant. Instead, you let that create more fruit and more fruit and more fruit. And whether it's tokenization or other aspects of blockchain, like how do we do that? And I'm not saying I have all the answers, but I do think that those were two big things that, as Corey was speaking, that I heard that I wanted to kind of bring to the forefront.
And you know what, Sharia, one of the answers to that is really getting back to the basics, you know, because I think we all kind of, you know, can conceptualize the whole idea that that's what can happen if you do it. But like you said, a lot of times we overthink it. Like we have to have so much money. It's about consistency. You know, if you would have just put $50 away back in your 20s and just kept it going and left it alone in the, you know, in a proper instrument, you know, or even if you left it in whatever you had it in, and then as you got mature and you learned in your 30s, like, hey, oh, I can move it to something, you know, something that's more aggressive or whatever, you know, you'd have it to move it, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, but I think and I used to sell insurances and securities. That was one of my jobs. I've had a lot of jobs, but that was one of my jobs. And that was one of the big deal things we were always saying to people was that it's the consistency. You just don't go messing with your money, you know, that you have in your insurance policy, you know, that kind of thing. You know, there are reasons why you might and all that kind of thing, but it's really just being consistent. Just set it and forget it. And that's the wonderful thing too about leveraging technology. You can have your check, go into, split it up into different places and have, a portion of it go to just an account that deals with cryptocurrency, trying to bring it back to blockchain. So, which is really what I do, as a matter of fact. I have a crypto area, so I know that understanding that getting into this space and investing in this space, that's money that, should it go to zero, it's not going to shut down my whole life. You know what I'm saying? But should it go up, I'll be bringing it into my life, So, that's the way we can handle that, just that way. You can automate that kind of thing, and you don't even miss it. You don't miss it. I mean,
Absolutely.
we live in this generation where we spend so much money on lattes and whatnot, and I mean that's big money after a while. I mean, that alone. So anyway, but that's my little soapbox spiel.
Yeah. So, all right. So then I have one more thing that I wanted to point out, and then we'll bring it back to blockchain unless you two have more to say. And that was something that Corey mentioned about our kids being digital natives. I don't know where I heard this from, but I believe it was at the luncheon that we had in Atlanta, Corey, where somebody and I had the conversation about the fact that it's near impossible for our kids to learn coding on the phone. So a lot of times we think our kids are digital natives because they have a phone, and because they have a phone, they know every aspect, or should be able to learn every aspect of computer science and STEAM, or let's say STEM more so. But that person said to me, but where we end up as a Black community with two issues. Number one is lack of internet access in a lot of homes in our community. And the number two is you can't make sophisticated coding programs, game design, all sorts of things that people are making trillions of dollars on. You can't do that on a cell phone. So one of the other things that we were talking about, and I wish I remember who I was having a conversation with, but we were talking about how do you, oh, that was you. Okay. Yeah. Okay, good. How do you get more computers into the schools and into the homes so that, all right, I'm getting a little political here, so that your kids are not concerned about certain people running over the border. Like, they're not competing for the same jobs as the people that are running over the border. And I'm not going to get into, politics here, but I know that that's a primary concern of a lot of people is, what kind of jobs will our kids have? Well, our kids should not even be competing for those jobs. So, go ahead.
Cherie, let me make a point. I'm pulling up something that's on. So pardon me if it's in my face. I'm pulling up something. And it's the whole thing with Mexico and immigration is a pump fake. The real issue with immigration is the fact that the great majority of immigrants and all the major states have been from India, right? Mm-hmm. So Georgia, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Washington State, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, all of these states are the number two foreign-born resident, other than Mexico, is India. And I'm telling you, that's driven by the demand for technology.
That's absolutely.
So I think while all this attention is being paid attention to the border and putting a wall down against Mexico, the truth of the matter is when you go inside of our corporations, they have whole departments that don't have another American face, just entirely Indian. And that is workspace where our community can engage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But we need to have the skills in order to do it. And I am working with a group now that teaches Black and Hispanic boys specifically boys, grades 6 through 12, about STEM. And they've got a great program. And I was doing some research for them this weekend with regards to this. And there are a lot of programs for diversity, specifically African American, Hispanic, and women in STEM, learning how to do technology and engineering. And we were looking at this grant with NIH, which is the National Institute of Health, and it's a research education program to get more diversity into biomedical programs. Yep. So there's a lot of money that's being put, based on our federal government. And I will say one other thing. If you are foreign born, there are a lot of jobs that you cannot get in the federal government because you have to have security clearance. Again, I'm looking at ways that we don't have to compete necessarily. We will have to always compete, but there are certain natural things that we can do as a people and helping our kids do as well. And I wanted to talk about that even more so, is what can we help our kids do so that they can, there are a lot of stats right now about our kids in 2050 are going to be at zero wealth. Well, why is that? Are we not preparing them for the right jobs? Are we not giving them the right money habits? Can we fix that now in 2019 versus 2049?
Term life insurance is why we're not going to have no money. Black folk are just sucking down all this term life insurance, and it's a waste. And that, what else?
You're for whole life, huh?
Well, listen, the other thought I was wanted to piggyback on is what you were talking about, the assumption about students and having this natural affinity to technology. What I'm seeing, and again, I'm a high school teacher, what I see is that our students are naturally attracted to technology for what it can do for them, kind of in a fun and entertainment kind of way. But what we're struggling with is getting people to realize the critical thinking that goes behind, these interfaces that make things so easy, and the whole thought process between, about gamifying anything, and it's those kind of things, just critical thinking that I'm running into a lot. Of course, I do work with students who have learning disabilities and that kind of thing, but generally speaking, I'm really seeing that, students will want this technology, but not really know how to use it in a dynamic way. And I have to say, in my personal business, I have a digital literacy business. I'm always empowering people who are like my age, like 50 and up kind of thing, because we are that generation who understand what it is this technology really is allowing and giving us the capabilities to do. And I think that's the part where like our youth don't really get that. They haven't been in the situation where there's no Wi-Fi or something like that. So when there's no Wi-Fi, they're turned off, they're just as off. That's what I noticed. And that is just unacceptable. Yep. They don't know how to just take a piece of paper and write some stuff out or whatever. It doesn't even cross their mind. It really does not cross their mind. They want to go to sleep. There's like nothing to do. I've seen it, and it's really, and that's like frightening to me.
I got 5 kids, man. I know when the Wi-Fi is off, it's like around the house, like, what do we do?
And it's so sad too. I have 3 daughters, similar thing. They just go to bed. Well,
I will tell you a story. So in my main business, many of you know, I write business plans for a living. And I was talking to an angel investor once, and she told me that, so a lot of times when people are giving a presentation in front of angel investors, they come in with their PowerPoint presentation, right? What she told me that she and her group would do was they would like unplug something, not something obvious, but something within the PowerPoint, and sit there and see what the entrepreneur would do. And these entrepreneurs would, for example, have like 20 minutes to give their presentation. And the ones who spent 19 minutes fiddling with the projector in order to get it working, they would never invest in them. But the ones who would say, spend a minute on it and say, you know what, I can't do this, so I'm going to talk off the cuff, those were the ones they invested in. And why is that? Because you got to be able to think on your feet.
Absolutely.
Thinking on your feet is what separates the majority of people from the high achievers, is to be able to say, you know what, Wi-Fi isn't working. Can I jot something down? Can I, explain this a different way? Can I, all sorts of things you can do in order to get around that clutch or that crutch that we have, if Wi-Fi isn't working, can I call somebody and talk to them and have them, Google something for me really quickly, if I need it. So
lifeline, right?
yes. So, okay, so I will share one thing, and this is something that Dr. Keisha presented to us today. I'm going to share my screen here. So, Corey, the way that we work is, we'll have a topic, and usually by now we would have gotten to the topic of the day, but hey, we've had a great conversation here. So this is about Web 3.0 and blockchain. It gives users the ability to create value and authenticate digital information. What new business applications will arise as a result? So they mentioned smart contracts, sharing economy, crowdfunding, which we spent a lot of time talking about today, governance, supply chain auditing, just supply chain in general, file storage, prediction markets, intellectual property. This is again in regards to smart contracts, Internet of Things, microgrids, which is about renewable energy, identity management, AML and KYC. KYC is know your customer. AML is it money laundering? Yeah. Private data management, land title registry, and stock trading. So I didn't even think about the stock trading. So they're saying here it's going to be instant, which makes sense. So this is from Block Geeks here, but I thought this was really interesting. Was there something from this list, Dr. Keisha, that really spoke out to you that you want to dive into more?
I love this because just like I've said before, when I've spoken with some other developers and whatnot, how we're making the interface. Well, the one big thing that I had a question about was like how much responsibility that is required to, keep your private keys and that kind of thing, within this blockchain space. And so we have a lot of developers who are trying to, make that process a lot easier. We had a developer on, like Try Crypto is working on something where they're using a emoji kind of thing, like a password kind of thing. But even with that though, if you forget your emoji, your rotation with that, you still have a situation. In which case, his response to that really was some of these kind of situations where a new business opportunity does tend to arise. We understand that blockchain isn't going to cover everything or just eliminate everything. We'll still have regular databases, just like we'll still have, spreadsheets like we do now. So we will still have some services and business applications that will support the blockchain. So it may be more centralized in that regard, but that's a business that could come off of some of these things that are presented here that are absolute applications for the blockchain. Just like the smart contract one, we'll still need somebody to audit those smart contracts. That's critical. I was having a conversation with someone in our group about smart contract. What do you do if you have a bad smart contract? From what I understand, that we were using the analogy that smart contracts would kind of be like a vending machine situation. Well, we know there's vending machines where you put your money in and it sucks your money in, and then you're like kicking the machine, like, hey, on the blockchain, then what are we going to do? Who do you go to? There's no central, a central agent to go to.
Agency, yeah.
Yeah. So again, so again, to me, when I looked at that, I was like, okay, some of the business applications that will result out of blockchain would be like those related services. Again, often, I'm always thinking about, people like us who are not developers, but we have a set of skills that are just as valuable, if not more so, around these new blockchain capabilities that we have. So
speaking of that, Talisha has talked for a while about blockchain customer service companies.
Absolutely.
And she and I have had the multi-billion-dollar conversation in regards to that. And you are so right. There is another article. I'm just going to stop my share here and show you this, because this is another article that I wanted to talk about tonight, which was about the blockchain bandit, how a hacker has been stealing millions of dollars worth of Ethereum by guessing weak private keys. So, right now, you are able to, let's say someone steals money from your credit card, you're able to go and get, that money back from the bank. In order for mass adoption to happen, you have to figure out these protocols, because right now this is, person established around, stole 700, collected 45,000 Ethereum, and Ethereum's worth what, a couple $100 a pop, from 700 weak private keys. So this was really, we'll put it in quotes, a small theft that could have been much, much bigger. And I think when we talk about, so tonight, one of the other things I was going to talk about was mass adoption. Tonight, for mass adoption to occur, I don't know if we can be completely decentralized. Again, and I've said this before, I've always wondered if that's possible for mass adoption, because if you're a blockchain purist, meaning that it's completely decentralized and you don't have the customer service department, and you don't have, if you lose your money, you lose it. That's not going to work well for grandma who's 69 years old,
Well, for me at 51, I'm not really trying to lose anything,
Yeah. Or you accidentally put in a wrong, key, a wrong, number or letter, or you write it down wrong, so all of these things, I believe that there's going to be some transitions. Want to say it like I did. Yes.
I was gonna say I've got money all over the place, and I'll never ever find out how to get back in those accounts. So trust, I get it. When we first got into this stuff, we just were dabbling all over the place, and didn't know nothing about a 17-digit key that has weird characters and numbers, and good luck.
Oh my God, Corey, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because I remember, Cherie, when I think I shared my screen with you early on, and you saw my spreadsheet with all this stuff, and you were like, "Oh, you're so organized." Well, I'm looking back at it like tax season now, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I've been in Binance, I've been in Bittrex and whatever." And I'm like, I got this ledger that doesn't go with this, and then I'm like, what do I do? So yeah, again, every problem, again, is an opportunity. We've been, like you said, we've been discussing a lot of million-dollar,
billion-dollar ideas.
Ideas already.
Yeah.
So we just really have to get ourselves together with the right people to put this thing into motion, because you're right. We've really, I know we've had some absolute billion-dollar ideas going on in our space right here. So
absolutely. So so we will see what happens with regards to, like you said, the problems that are occurring. And there's a lot of money. I posted something a couple of weeks ago in regards to, I think it was 850 million that was put into blockchain and cryptocurrency by venture capitalists, just venture capitalists over the past quarter, the first quarter of the year. And they're expecting VC money for this year to surpass VC money of last year. And one of the things that the article said is they're building the infrastructure. We've heard this before. Right now, people are building the infrastructure into blockchain and into crypto. And once that infrastructure is built, they're not spending tens of billions of dollars to build this infrastructure because nobody's coming. No, this is happening. These people are coming. And what we want to think about is, okay, as mass adoption occurs, what's the one thing or the one team that I can actively get on and help it grow? And then what other things do I want to be invested in? So whether it's Don Dixon and Popcom, I invested.
I know.
You know, or other investments we're hearing about. And this goes back to what I was originally saying about, you know, let's get ourselves together, get organized, whether it's through Biggie, which is Blockchain Investor Group International, or some other groups. You know, we can have more than one group as well, and start saying, okay, you've got this $1 billion idea. We're going to, you know, put $1 million in there, and we're going to create teams with us in there so that we are the investors, we are the employees, we are the ones that are pushing it forward, and we can dominate certain parts of this industry. So, yeah. I saw somebody said I give away $1 billion idea a month. Sometimes I give them away, and sometimes I just recognize that other people say it, and I have to say, stop. You know? The other thing I will say is that within Black Blockchain Consultants, one of the things I've always said is I want you to feel free to hang up your own shingles and say, this is what I want to do, and recruit team members from within the group. So we as Blockchain Consortium International don't have to manage everything, run everything. We want many, many multi-million-dollar companies from this group. So Tawana says she's going to trademark my entire brain. Oh my goodness. Eric said, I heard someone say on a security token webinar that the plumbing for the industry is being built now. Interesting. Okay. Is it the plumbing, or is it the electrical, or is it all of the, you know, the foundation, the beams, all of that? Tawana's saying Biggie is ready to invest. We just need a great project. Oh, great. So that's Tawana. So if you want to talk to somebody within Blockchain Investor Group International or Biggie, it's Tawana's at biggie.com. I can't remember. Biggie.club. Biggie.club, yes. So you can go to biggie.club and get more information. So we are almost at the end of our hour. This is exciting and fun, and
yeah, we got a lot of information in too here.
A lot of information too, and a lot of high level thoughts and strategies as well for the community. So Dr. Keisha, do you have any final words for the family before we break?
You know, really, my thought, I was just thinking as we were talking about problems, you know, this is really a time to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. We are in a time of a paradigm shift on so many levels, so many major pillars of our society, you know, education, you know, you know, just everything. Everything is really ramping up here. So when we run into things that we identify as problems, let's really start to think about how we can attack those things, you know, and maybe even keep it small to some degree, you know, where it feels manageable. But, you know, even just kind of keep a list, you know, like this is an issue here. We're learning about this, but that's, you know, and then we kind of start talking about those things and come up with some solutions. you know, I'm excited. I'm really excited. I love you guys so much. It's such a great group, and we got some great minds here. So yeah, thanks again.
Oh, we love you too. Corey,
Uh-huh.
you want to give any final words to the family?
I think I'm willing to have a session just talking about opportunity zones
Okay.
and the Jobs Act. I think that's something that when you're talking about the people that are knitting the financial fabric of our community together, we've got to understand the legislative advantages that are put out there. All right. Opportunity Zones Act is a $5 trillion or more legislation. And the great majority of that money is going to be deployed in the first 4 or 5 years. You know, so we have not, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard the amount of money that's going to be waiting on us to get our stuff together in order for it to be monetized. Because they only have 6 months to put that money to work or it disqualifies. So
wow,
we've got work to do, a ton of work.
Well, then let's try to get you on in the next week or so.
Absolutely.
To have this conversation. The other thing with opportunity zones that a lot of people don't know is they think it only qualifies for real estate. Not true. People can use their opportunity zone money to invest in other businesses as well. So if you want to talk about putting a call center in the neighborhood or doing other types of blockchain education businesses or just regular financial literacy education or anything like that, these opportunity zone funds can invest in businesses. Now, they're going to invest in sound businesses, so you got to have your business plan and your pitch and, you know, and know what you're talking about. But yeah.
We'll be creating our own opportunity zone funds. I think with the brain power we have in this room, there's no reason not to. And number two, I keep going back to the Jobs Act and having a better understanding of how insurance plays into this whole thing, because it's the insurance agent and the insurance broker that has a great majority of the leverage old Jobs Act opportunity zone discussion. Because every time a company gets funded, you have new people that need buy-sell agreements, whole life insurance policies, employee insurance policies, all kinds of new stuff, because they are all of a sudden now wealthy, you know? And
there's another job. Correct.
Compared to provide all those policies is going to make a ton of money in premium commission. So they're going to be incentivized to identify those companies and capitalize those companies. And when you have a broker that's sitting there managing $500 million or $1 billion, if you ask for $1 million, that's nothing. He's going to do it. All we have to do is make sure that we can get them properly dressed for the party. We have to identify the uniform and make sure that they have to get properly dressed for the party. And when they're dressed, they're going to get a chance to dance. So I think between us, we have to define that process. We can philosophize until we're blue in the face. We have to find a process by which we can take a company from an idea into capitalization, and they have to be able to last at least 10 years. That's the mindset that we have to have, you know? Not a car shop or a damn rim shop, but something that have a 10-year minimum on, you know?
Or a restaurant. That's the number one call I get from people is, I want to open a restaurant, you know? It's like, oh my gosh.
Guys, and let me say to you, I'm really excited about my alliance with the National Business League. Everything we're talking about right now, reach out to Dr. Ken Harris in your area, in Atlanta, in DC. I know already in DC, that's where their headquarters used to be. Now it's being switched over to Detroit now. He has a plan that's outlined exactly what we're talking about right now. And it's already jump started strong. So if you're that person, please get in contact with him, and that's Dr. Ken Harris, Kenneth Harris. Reach out to him on LinkedIn, whatever, but get involved in that, because that we'll be able to put it together strong. He has been to the White House, he's pulling things together, and everything we're talking about is exactly what our strategic plan is about. The whole idea is to get all of our Black businesses to get together, and then have all of the wraparound services, you know, to include the legal, the real estate, just everything. All Black people working together with an economic agenda, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of stuff that gets us killed kind of agenda, okay? Let me just be real clear, okay? You know, the economics, we're about economics, entrepreneurships, and commerce, okay? That's what this group is about, and it's put together strong. So try to find out where, you know, those chapters are, the NBL chapters are in your area, because there is a plan in place right now that we can just catch on to, and we'll go forth empowered. And Cherie, you always talk about that, how we come together in mass, we are a force to be reckoned with. And, you know, and we already know when we come in with just our little bit of what we do, we dominate. So when we come in mass, yeah, this is our time. It's time for us to take everything back.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to end with a few announcements here. And Dr. Ken Harris is the Minority Business League, right? That's the name of that organization?
National Business League, MBL.
National Business League. Sorry, guys. National Business League. So Dr. Ken Harris, National Business League. Okay, so a few announcements or notes that I want to bring up. Number one is, of course, don't forget about the virtual blockchain conference that we're having on June 12th. The website is virtualblockchainsummit.com. That's virtualblockchainsummit.com. We have a ton of speakers already confirmed and others that are being confirmed over the next week or two. Got a couple of big surprises that I'm just waiting on the yes for them. Number two is based on what I showed you tonight in this, let me see here. Here, I just want to say it's very important for us to pick something. I always say to you, pick a major. So in freshman and sophomore year of college, what do? You take your general studies courses. If you've taken Blockchain 101, you're a certified blockchain professional. You've taken just the general information about smart contracts, then it's time for us to go to part two, which is to pick a major. So this is not even the half of what you could get involved with. But I want to encourage all of you, you don't have to learn coding. You don't have to learn something new. Take what you're currently doing and ask, how is blockchain going to be revolutionized by it? Or how can my skills be used to help with blockchain? So you all know I'm a business plan writer. I do writing grants as well. And now I'm getting into technical writing. So I'm looking at how can I expand my writing into helping blockchain companies. It's one of the things I'm doing privately. You could do the same thing with whatever you're doing. So that's number two. Number three is there's no better time to make money and to get rich than now. There's no better time, but you need an idea, you need a great team, and you need execution. And if you have those three things, you can succeed. So the final thing that I will say is Eric, Spence, and Tawana, I'm going to put the two of you in touch with Corey because I would like the two of you to lead off the session with him in the opportunity zones if the two of you would be willing to do that. If anyone else wants to also be a part of that panel, let me know, but those are two people I know I could pick on in order to do that, because you two seem very excited in the chat. So So yes, so I'm going to connect the two of you with Corey. You all coordinate it, you know, and send out the note via Zoom, so sorry, via Flock, so that our team can learn that. And hopefully, Dr. Keisha, you'll come to that with some of the information from the NBL as well, you know, just so that people can have that information too. And you know, it's about teams and execution, people. So you know, pick something and let's move with it.
Let me say this too, just to jump in as far as picking something. Education is that's going to be the thread through all of this. Is at whatever comes out, if there will be a need for education to onboard people onto whatever it is, whether it's your brand new application, your brand new app. People will need to know how to use that. If it's just a concept to get people's mind to even think about how to come up with new and fresh ideas, you know, education. So I need you, you know, Center for Blockchain Study, need you to be a content creator, to contribute in whatever way you can in terms of your background to help us out. I'd love to see Corey in there too, you know, helping us out with the special course, you know, about opportunity zones, or you know, whatever we need to you know, onboard people too, so they can even make sense of what the Job Act is about or whatever. So
STEAM is my passion, so education, I'm all about it. I'm a grassroots in that space, so I definitely look forward to helping out.
Awesome. Yeah, love to hear it. Thank you.
So speaking of that, we do have our blockchain boot camp classes that are going to be starting as well in the next few months. So if you know, have that passion for teaching live audiences, then going through Tawana and Dr. Keisha in order to find out more about that. But we have a ton of opportunities within our very own opportunity zone, which is the inner circle of Black Blockchain Consultants. So if you're not a formal member of the inner circle, then I'd love to welcome you there as well. We have these discussions and more happening on a daily basis in our internal Flock communication system. So that's it for me. It is officially 9:07, so we are going to get some rest. And thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a blessed evening, and I will see you on, you know, in Flock or on Facebook.
Okay. Good night.
Take care. Thanks, Corey. Thanks for coming. Thanks, Dr. Keisha.
Bye-bye, Corey.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.